The initial sign of a betrayal in progress is rarely a piece of concrete evidence you can hold in your hand. It is a fundamental shift in the atmosphere, a change in the emotional weather of your relationship that you feel before you can name it. This is the erosion of presence. If you are an emotionally grounded man, you are attuned to the energy of your partner. You will sense this cooling long before you discover a text or catch her in a lie. It begins subtly, a quiet withdrawal of the intangible things that form the fabric of intimacy. The warmth in her eyes when they meet yours seems to dim, replaced by a distant, almost polite gaze. The casual, habitual affection that once defined your daily life, the hand on your shoulder as she passes, the effortless kiss hello. The way she would lean into you on the couch becomes scarce, then calculated, and then stops altogether. She is still there, physically. She goes through the motions of your shared routine, but it feels precisely like that, a performance. Her body is in the room, but her mind, her spirit, her active attention are somewhere else. You find yourself sitting next to a ghost of the woman you knew, a hollowed-out version going through the motions. This creates a palpable disconnect, a silent space between you that grows wider each day. It's the feeling of talking to someone who is already thinking of their next sentence, of embracing someone who is already, in their heart, let go. When you, sensing this void, muster the courage to ask if something is wrong, you are almost always met with a deflective, rehearsed response. I'm just tired, she'll say, or work has been stressful, or the classic, I'm just in a weird mood lately. These are not answers. They are smoke screens. What she is really doing is emotionally checking out. The bridge of connection between you is being dismantled from her side, plank by plank. And she offers these platitudes as a temporary patch over the growing chasm. Her physical presence becomes a placeholder. It's a way to maintain the appearance of normalcy while her inner world actively disengages. This isn't merely a rough patch or a temporary lapse. This is the quiet internal process of severance. The shared jokes no longer land with the same laughter. The future plans are discussed with a vague lack of enthusiasm. And the silences between you are no longer comfortable, but loaded with everything left unsaid. This emotional distance is the fertile ground in which betrayal takes root. It is the precondition, the mental and emotional justification that must be established before a line is physically crossed. The body follows where the heart has already wandered. And this chilling of her presence, this quiet vacuum where her spirit used to be, is the unmistakable beginning of that journey away from you. As her heart and mind begin their quiet migration, a parallel, more tangible shift occurs in her behavior, the construction of fortresses. The most common and telling of these is her phone. What was once a communal device, left casually on the coffee table, screen unlocked, buzzing with shared notifications, transforms into a vault. It is now perpetually face down, as if the mere sight of the screen could betray her. Notifications are silenced or set to do not disturb, not for peace of mind, but for secrecy. You notice she takes it with her everywhere with a new, it's almost compulsive urgency into the bathroom, to take out the trash, even just to the other room for a glass of water. This isn't a newfound attachment to technology. It's a nervous, protective energy that radiates from her. A woman who is loyal and secure in her relationship does not behave this way. There is no need. The sketchiness, the sudden jumps when a message comes in, the way she angles the screen away from your line of sight, these are not the actions of someone valuing privacy, which is a reasonable expectation in a healthy dynamic. These are the actions of someone guarding secrecy, which is the active concealment of something that would damage the trust of the relationship if it were known. This defensiveness inevitably bleeds into your conversations. The normal, everyday curiosity that is part of any connected partnership suddenly becomes a trigger for conflict. A simple, innocent question like, "How was your day?" or "Who were you texting?" is no longer met with a casual, open answer. Instead, it is met with a wall of hostility. She might sigh heavily, roll her eyes, or immediately launch into a counter-accusation. "Why are you always checking up on me?" Or "I can't believe you don't trust me." The conversation is instantly flipped. You began by noticing a change, and within seconds, you find yourself on the defensive, accused of being controlling, invasive, or toxic. This is a deliberate and calculated strategy. It is not that she genuinely believes you are being unreasonable. It is that your innocent inquiry feels like a threat because it gets too close to the truth. Her guilt cannot tolerate the spotlight, so she instinctively shoves it back onto you by making you the villain, the suspicious. Untrusting boyfriend, she accomplishes two things. She derails the conversation from the real issue, and she creates a justification for her own secretive behavior. In her narrative, her need for secrecy is a rational response to your paranoia, rather than what it truly is, a consequence of her own infidelity. The fortress, therefore, is not just digital, it's emotional. She walls off her devices and her inner life simultaneously, creating a moat of manufactured conflict that she dares you to cross. When a woman engages in betrayal, her mind faces a profound internal conflict. The person she believes herself to be is at odds with her actions. To resolve this cognitive dissonance and quiet the voice of her own conscience, she must construct a new reality, one where her choices are not just justified but necessary. This is where the psychological warfare begins, and it is often the most disorienting and damaging phase for a partner. A primary weapon in this campaign is projection. She begins to accuse you of the very behaviors she is actively engaging in. Out of the blue, she might ask, "Are you sure you're not seeing someone else? Or why have you been so distant lately?" On the surface, this may sound like insecurity, but it is a strategic maneuver. By planting the seed of your own potential guilt, she accomplishes two things. First, she creates a false moral equivalence, making her betrayal feel less severe in her own mind. If you might also be shady, then her actions are not a one-sided violation, but a mutual dysfunction. Second, it puts you on the defensive, forcing you to expend energy, proving your own fidelity while the focus remains off hers. Simultaneously, she begins the subtle but systematic work of rewriting your shared history. The man you were and the relationship you built are retroactively painted in a negative light. She will make sweeping declarations like, "You've always been emotionally unavailable," or "I haven't felt connected to you in years." The painful irony is that these were not the prevailing issues during the period of your deepest connection. They are narratives crafted in the present to rationalize her current actions. She is building a legal case for her betrayal, assembling evidence from a past she is now reinterpreting. This is often accompanied by a rise in subtle contempt. Her tone becomes colder, her jokes carry a sharper, more sarcastic edge, and her general demeanor loses its softness. You are no longer her partner. In her mind, you are gradually being transformed into the problem she must endure. This contempt is not a random emotion. It is a psychological tool. By casting you as the source of her unhappiness, as boring, neglectful, or out of sync, she effectively dissolves her own guilt. She doesn't have to feel bad about betraying a good man. She can feel righteous about escaping a flawed one. If you are not grounded in your own self-worth, you will start to believe this revised version of yourself. You will find yourself apologizing for crimes you didn't commit, trying harder to meet moving goalposts, and competing with the ghost of the perfect partner she claims you never were. This is the insidious goal of the warfare, to make you the co-author of your own demotion, so she can walk away feeling blameless. The most profound and painful aspect of betrayal is not the physical act itself, but the systematic relocation of emotional capital. This is the process of emotional migration, where the energy, vulnerability, and shared intimacy that once defined your relationship are quietly withdrawn from you and invested elsewhere. This migration is the true death of the partnership, often occurring long before any physical line is crossed. You will feel it as a gradual hollowing out. The woman who once came to you with her daily stories, her minor frustrations, her exciting news, and her deepest fears suddenly becomes a closed book. When you ask what she's thinking about, she replies with a distant, "Nothing." When you probe gently about her quiet mood, she shuts down with a terse, "I don't want to talk about it." It's not that she has less to say. It is that she is saying it all to someone else. Another person is now receiving the stream of her consciousness, is now the recipient of the good morning and good night texts, is now the one offering comfort for a bad day and celebrating her small wins. You have been replaced as her primary emotional confidant, demoted from first responder to a mere bystander. This migration creates a chilling indifference that is far more telling than anger or sadness. Anger signifies investment. It means she still cares enough to be upset about the state of your connection. Indifference, however, is the emotional void left after investment has been pulled. You could land a promotion, achieve a personal goal you've worked toward for months, or start leveling up your physical health and discipline, and her response will be a muted, "Oh, that's nice," before she changes the subject. Conversely, if you are going through a period of stress or failure, she offers no real comfort or engagement. Your emotional landscape no longer impacts hers because her heart is no longer tethered to yours. She has emotionally diversified, and you are no longer a significant asset in her portfolio. This is brutally evidenced in how she talks about the future. The vacations you used to dream about together, the holiday plans. Even simple commitments for next weekend are now met with non-committal vagueness. "We'll see," she says, or "I'm not sure what I have going on then." The future, which was once a shared canvas you painted together, has become a blurry, uncertain horizon for her because she cannot see you in it. She is mentally and emotionally keeping her options open. And your presence in those plans is now a variable, not a certainty. This entire process is a form of quiet, internal severance. The rituals of intimacy that once bonded, youth the goodnight kiss that held meaning, the lazy Sunday morning cuddles in bed, the habit of falling asleep with her head on your chest slowly and systematically vanish, they are not replaced by fights. They are simply abandoned. These rituals are powerful because they reinforce a unique emotional and physical bond, and to engage in them with you now feels, to her, like a betrayal of her new emotional investment. She may still perform them out of obligation, but they feel hollow, like a ghost going through the motions. You are left sharing a bed with her body while her mind is miles away, actively building a new connection. The warmth of shared life is replaced by the cold reality of shared space. You are living alongside someone who is already, in the ways that matter most, gone. This emotional migration is the core injury. The potential physical act is merely a symptom of this deeper, more complete departure. The heart has to leave first, and when it does, it takes with it the shared history. It's a present connection, and every possibility of a future, leaving behind only the empty shell of what used to be. The final stage of this dissolution is not a dramatic explosion, but a quiet, systematic removal. It is a process of emotional erosion so complete that you become a ghost in your own relationship. This is not the heated distance of anger, but the chilling void of apathy. She stops noticing your presence, or, more tellingly, your absence. You can come home late without a question. You can be distant for days without a check-in. If you test the waters by pulling back your own energy, she does not lean in to close the gap. She simply goes further, embracing the distance you created. The connection is so thoroughly severed that your attempts to provoke a reaction, any reaction, are met with a profound and unsettling silence. This is the essence of the quiet removal. You are being erased, not with conflict, but with passivity. Your role shifts from partner to placeholder, from lover to a piece of furniture in the life she is mentally preparing to leave. This is often accompanied by a final, brutal shift in her language and behavior, the performance of victimhood. When you, driven by instinct and the accumulation of evidence, finally articulate your concerns and request transparency, you are no longer merely met with defensiveness. You are met with a full-scale manipulation campaign. She will frame your valid observations as attacks, your need for clarity as control, and your expression of pain as toxic sensitivity. She expertly flips the script, casting herself as the long-suffering victim of your unreasonable demands. This is a calculated strategy. It achieves two primary goals. It allows her to avoid any and all accountability for the chilling distance and secretive behavior she has exhibited, and it successfully makes you doubt your own perception of reality. You find yourself apologizing for bringing up your own hurt, scrambling to prove you are not a controlling monster, and thus spending all your emotional energy managing her manufactured crisis instead of addressing the very real one she created. As long as you are busy defending your own character, you cannot effectively accuse her of betraying your trust, the underlying reason. She can engage in this quiet removal while often still sharing a home with you is that you have become her safety net. You represent stability, familiarity, and a fallback plan. She will keep you close enough that you don't fully disengage and walk away, maintaining just enough of a facade to preserve the benefits of your presence with a financial, social, or emotional comfort. Yet, she will simultaneously keep you distant enough that you pose no threat to her freedom or her exploration of other connections. You are kept in a state of emotional limbo, constantly chasing the clarity and intimacy she dangles just out of reach, while she floats above the fray, unburdened by the commitment she has already internally broken. This is the ultimate disrespect, to be used as a plan B while your heart is still all in, the moment of reclamation. Therefore, does not arrive when she confesses or when you uncover irrefutable proof. By that point, the destruction is complete, and your power has been further depleted by the shock and humiliation. The time to walk away is the moment you recognize the pattern of quiet removal and psychological warfare. It is the moment you internally acknowledge that you have become an afterthought, that your energy is no longer valued, and that your presence no longer moves her. You leave when your instincts are screaming in unison. The only thing silencing them is your own fear of being alone or starting over. Walking away under these circumstances is not an act of punishment toward her, nor is it a strategy to make her miss you. It is the ultimate act of self-respect, a decisive choice to honor the man who no longer belongs in a space built on lies, secrecy, and emotional neglect. You reclaim your power, not with a loud confrontation, but with a quiet, dignified removal of your own. You withdraw the energy, attention, and hope she has been taking for granted. You do not need a confession from someone who has already confessed everything through their actions. You do not need closure from someone who quietly closed the door on you long ago. Your clarity comes from your own decision to stop participating in your devaluation. The day she realizes what she has lost, she will not see the man she played. She will see the man she can no longer reach, a figure of strength who chose himself when she no longer would.